Thrash bands have always been known to play fast and heavy music, but there was a trend that started in the late 80s and early 90s for thrash bands to slow down their pace. I recently did a video on Slayer's South of Heaven, which I believe was the first thrash band to slow down their pace, even though most people believe that Metallica was the first to do it with the Black Album. Nonetheless, bands started to follow. For example, Testament released The Ritual, Megadeth released Countdown to Extinction, and Exodus released Force of Habit. And there were others, but now Evile is doing the same thing, except 30 years later. So I believe this will be an album that fans will either love or hate. And before I begin, please let me know in the comments if I pronounced the band's name wrong. Sometimes I do that. So Evile formed in 2004. Since then, they have had a sound that mixes some early Metallica and other thrash bands with some modern death metal. Their last album, Hell Unleashed, from 2021, was an example of that. Now they have The Unknown, released on July 14th, 2023, their sixth album through Napalm Records. This time the band decided to get slow and heavy. The vocals are more melodic and the lyrical topics include songs about depression, overcoming loss and recurring nightmares, self-esteem and image, to more personal themes like living with dementia, struggling through the music industry, and even concerns of becoming a new parent. Let me introduce the band now. Vocals and lead guitar, we have Old Drake, and on drums we have Ben Carter. On bass we have Joel Graham. On rhythm guitar, Adam Smith. And now for a quick background. So they are part of the new wave of thrash metal from Huddersfield, UK. They formed in 2004. They've had many lineup changes over the years. Their only consistent member is drummer Ben Carter. The first four albums were thrash metal albums, and on their fifth album, Hell Unleashed, they had an even heavier approach that mixed thrash and death. I did a full review of that back then, and I will link that at the end screen. The critics seem to have mixed reviews for this album, as we all expected they would. Let me read a few quotes from three different sources, and then we'll get into the songs. The first one is from Angry Metal Guy. It seems strange that Evile would double down so hard on the Metallica homage stick again after 2021's Hell Unleashed, which was a solid, urgent thrash album with a much more unique sound. Noise UK says, when you spin The Unknown, don't expect balls to the wall thrash album. Come here expecting Evile to blow you away, because they will. Even at their slowest, they still blow most thrash bands out of the water. And Distorted Sound said, Evile had provided a crystal clear example that speed isn't always necessary to create a scintillating thrash album. But the album starts with the title track, The Unknown. The song immediately starts out with some slower guitar riffs. The vocals are much cleaner, and they alternate between the clean and distorted guitar riffs. The vocals reminded me a little of the band Godsmack, and I don't mean that in a bad way. This was the first single that was released, and with this, they let everyone know that they would be changing their sound. The Mask We Wear is the second track, and this one has some slow and heavy riffs. You can definitely hear the Metallica comparison on the song. I really like the production on the song. You can hear the bass guitar very well, and the guitars have this thick and chunky level of distortion. I also like that the vocals have this level of grit in the sounds, but at the same time, they are very clear, and it's easy to listen to when you listen to the lyrics. I think that it's very important, and let me also mention the drums. I think the slower pace gives the drummer more opportunity to add in some interesting drum fills. Monolith is the third song, and this one continues with a slower sound and the thick and crunchy guitar riffs. They do some gang vocals in the intro. This one is dark and emotional. You can hear the pain in the singer's voice. When Mortal Coil Shed is the fourth song, and this one starts with a clean guitar intro. This can be compared to those clean classical guitar intros that Metallica used to start their songs with, something that I miss. This is a softer song with clean guitars and a slow pace. The vocals are very emotional. The distorted guitars are used more sparingly on the song, but they do a very good job of capturing the emotional side of thrash metal that seems to be missing sometimes. This song is about 7 minutes long, and they bring the distorted guitars about halfway through the song's runtime. You can hear thick guitar riffs and deep string bends, as well as some harmonized guitar riffs. This is one of the most emotional songs in the album, and I think it's a classic. Sleepless Eyes is the fifth song, and this is where they bring back the fast-paced thrash. It's like they're letting you know that there's no need to worry, we can still thrash like we used to. The song is very fast and heavy with a sound that's closer to their previous album, Hell Unleashed. When the chorus kicks in, they slow it down a little and they bring in the gang vocals, but then they just unleash themselves with some blazing guitar solos. They continue with fast-paced guitar riffs, and they succeed in ripping your face off.
Take his face off.
Out of Sight is next. We're on track number 6, and they continue with a song that's another thrasher. This one is not as fast as the one before it. It has a cool groove to it, and they also have the gang vocals. This one reminds me of classic thrash from the 80s. This is the shortest song at under 3 minutes. It's quick, to the point, and it's a great song. At Mirror Speech is track number 7, and here's where they start to slow it down a little bit. It's not as clean and atmospheric as the first 4 songs on the album. It's still a thrasher, but the only way I can explain it is like Metallica, but they're taking influence from both like the Injustice for All and the Black Album. Guitar riffs are heavy and chunky. There are some parts of the song that are slow and emotional. I really like the breakdown towards the end where they switch gears and give you some heavy guitar riffs. Reap What You Sow is track number 8, and this one is more of a mid-paced thrasher. They do a lot of interesting guitar riffs on this song. This was also one of the singles released, and I think this is one of the best songs on the album. It has a thick and heavy feel. The lyrics are well written, and the chorus is very catchy. They also have a lot of guitar riffs on this, and some melodic leads. Beginning of the End is the penultimate song, and it begins with what seems to be schizophrenic voices all speaking at once. This has a bass guitar intro that's always good to hear. This one has some of those like thick and heavy guitar riffs. The song is about mental health and mentions things like paranoia, hysteria, grief, and hallucinations. The song is dark and emotional. I believe the song is about the onset of dementia. All I can say is that this is just another killer song. Balance of Time is the last song, and the first thing I noticed was the drumming. It starts with a drum intro that goes into some fast and heavy riffs. This is probably the other song in the album that sounds like their traditional thrash metal sound. It's very fast and frenetic. Everything is turned up, and I thought it was a good idea to end this album with an aggressive thrash metal song. This one has some old school guitar riffs. Some of the riffs reminded me of the first Stormtroopers of Death album, Speak English or Die, those heavy and chunky guitar riffs. The guitar solo is very fast and blazing. The last 30 seconds of the song is completely different. They ended with like a short classical guitar piece. In conclusion, as I said at the start of this video, fans will either love this or hate this. It's a departure from what they have been doing on their previous album, but I thought it was something that is lacking in today's metal scene. They are paying homage to that brief period of time when thrash bands slowed down the pace, and people complained about it at first, but as the years pass, they begin to see how the album really holds up over the years. I know this will get a lot of negativity, but I think it's a near perfect masterpiece. This may even be their best album, but it's still too soon to make that determination. I'm going to give this a high score. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It may even go up to a 9.5 out over time. As of now, this is the best album of the month. We will see how it ranks at the end of the month. If you're interested in my thoughts on Hell Unleashed, I will link that one right here. Please remember to like this video. It helps me with the algorithm. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and leave me a comment. That is all. I will see you in the next one.